This is Trophy Gold, The Roots of Old Kaldurh, Part 7. We have not played this campaign for a bit, so let's do some recapping. And also, we didn't have Brian last time. So last time we had sort of a little interlude session, which basically saw the characters sort of coming to terms with the fact that so much time had passed because you all were sort of mesmerized or held in stasis by this painting, I can't remember what the painting's called, something millennia or something. In any case, a bunch of time passed, and that had a lot of implications for drives. It had a lot of implications for the world, for the camp. So we kind of had a session just sort of sorting that out. Importantly, the camp was visited by a very, very strange woman and her sort of mindless servants carrying an enormous box. And she paid the group to go deep into the woods to acquire something for her. The group did acquire that. It was a bundle of dream scarabs, and the box contained the body of your erstwhile employer, Iotho Bruno. The dream scarabs were poured over his body and consumed him, and then everyone could then in turn consume the scarabs to receive memories and dreams of Iotho. And so we got to do that as well. That session ended with the discovery that the mysterious woman was in fact your other erstwhile employer, Patience Davies, and Patience gave Osto a gift of some dream scarabs that she claims contains the dreams of his dead brother. Oh, there's Mike. Join us real quick.
Sorry, guys. I was waiting for the ping and it just never showed up. And then
It's
I was
okay.
like, it must be here. And then saw that it had happened. Yeah.
I'm just recapping. So
Cool.
So anyway, so Patience gave Osto these dream scarabs, which presumably reveal the fate of Osto's brother, but their mere existence means he's dead. If she's not lying, we don't know yet, but Osto has these dream scarabs, and that's kind of where it ended. I think that probably has an implication for your drive, Osto, if you want to think on that a bit. But yeah, that was what we did. And so now we'll kind of pick up with kind of continuing the incursion down into the depths of the roots of Old Kaldurh. I do want to check in with the characters a little bit, though, because it has been a minute. In particular, so many conditions. Korkulek has so many conditions. I can barely keep up with them anymore, but they're great. They are so they are the texture of that character. Osto has a few. Mazar has actually gotten a few now, and one of them, Exhausted, is maybe kind of a hassle. Gleneth is surprisingly condition free, and Duquesne is still an albino peacock, so everything is kind of good to go there. What else do we need to know about?
Let me ask a quick question. I got the condition that I was angry with Mazar for dropping rocks on my head. Was that before we met the painting? If so, that was 30 years old, this grudge. And should I still
so you only remember it as like the other day, right?
Okay, got it.
Right. So
fair enough.
Yeah. The world has moved on. You all have not necessarily. Are there any other questions or any other things? I suspect we'll be reminding ourselves of stuff as we play, but that feels like a pretty good encapsulation of where we're at currently.
Yeah, Gleneth's drive is still a little bit up in the air because the chancellor she wanted to humiliate is probably 30 years dead at this point.
Right. That's what I'm wondering too. Yeah, there's a lot of like, I think maybe as we're playing, those of you do have these like kind of like temporally dicey drives. You might want to look for opportunities to develop new drives, right? Like maybe new things. So your money can go towards those things instead. Okay. Yeah.
One technical question. So I am very high in ruin, as is Gleneth.
Have we not done I think I said you weren't like bound to burdens.
Okay.
From that little excursion. So
Okay,
you
okay.
can, so any money that you got, you can spend that on healing if you want.
Heard.
One gold
Okay.
per ruin. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Anything else?
I'm apparently sitting on 3 gold. Did we not do Hearthfire after?
I don't think we did Hearthfire. I think we just
No, we didn't.
like stopped. And so I think if you just want to like store that in Horde, it's probably fine. So because it wasn't really like, you weren't really like coming back home, right? You were, this kind of wasn't really that kind of thing. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of hard frame this session a little bit. So as you know, in your absence, the camp managed to build quite a lot of like, you know, it's still a camp, but it has much more vibrancy, the feeling of kind of a rough and ready village in a way. At one point, they've spent some time actually making the descent down into layer 1 easier. And so you don't have to make the climb set to get down to layer 1 or back from it. They, you know, built handrails. They, you know, devised, you know, maybe like little, you know, maybe they put like, you know, markers on trails and things like that, right? They just kind of made it easier to get down essentially. And not to the other layers, but just to layer 1. And in recent days, and by recent days, I mean probably months, there's been a lot of rumors going around about the existence of a particular place somewhere down in the roots, a place called the Specularium. And it might have been Mazer's bunch that, you know, have become aware of the Specularium and want to get to it. Maybe it's other people, who knows. But the Specularium, in theory, was, according to the rumors, it was like essentially like a gigantic scrying array that allowed the kings of Old Kaldurh to monitor their little lands and empire right from afar. And trying to find the Specularium has become something of a focus for certain people in the camp. And they found it. The entrance to the Specularium has been found, the debris cleared so that it can be entered, and you all are going in. And we're picking up right there with you already down in layer 1, already having navigated to this space and getting ready to go into the Specularium. Now, the Specularium, of course, was an overly ambitious feat of arcane engineering, a supremely powerful scrying array designed to monitor the empire at once and from afar. Whether age and entropy have degraded the enchantments powering it, or it was a project flawed from its inception, it is now most likely a haunted place. Fundamentally, it's a great hall lined with mirrored galleries, interspersed with abstract sculptures in crystal and stained glass. Rumors say that the mirrors now show warped visions of the past and present, and maybe even the future. There is a set goal here, which is discover secrets of Old Kaldurh and its ruins. So mainly what you're doing here is kind of setting up future delves by learning some things. And so after navigating a sort of like small, sort of like kind of vestibule / foyer area, you arrive in the gallery of mirrors of the Specularium. Mirrored corridors lead throughout the Specularium, laid out in a seemingly random pattern, though those of you who have an understanding of the arcane probably understand that there is some sort of intention behind the pattern of these strange corridors. These mirrored halls, many of the mirrors have shattered, and there are glass shards all over the place. Many of the mirrors are not particularly clear anymore. The images are distorted or occluded, fogged over. Light is reflected oddly throughout. Shadows are unpredictable. And there's ambient light coming from somewhere. Even without your torches, before you light your lanterns, you can kind of see at a really low level in this place. Whatever little light there is coming from somewhere is getting magnified by the mirrors, such as they are. And so you're here, maybe wandering up and down these halls, maybe together, maybe you separate at times. The key here is just to really look into these mirrors and figure out what they're about and maybe where these corridors lead to. Let's just go around the table. Let's just have the scene, everybody together, and we'll kind of figure out what everyone's doing.
As we wander, it seems like this place might be potentially a little confusing. So I think Osto will be using the paint from his pack to draw a little marker on the floor so that they can find their way back. And
I think that's
he'll-
very wise, yeah. I'll actually give you a hunt roll on that because it helps you to explore if you are not having to backtrack all the time or to avoid backtracking. And you can do it with 2 dice because of the equipment. Oh, Mike, I shared the links before you got into the chat, so I'll share those again.
I got a 6.
Nice. Go ahead and take your go ahead and take your token. I think because you weren't looking for anything in particular, I'm not going to tell you anything in particular, except to say that this plan is working. You will be able to navigate back to the entrance, and you get a hunt roll token to represent your increased knowledge of the space and ability to navigate the space. Yeah, anyway, you're all together. What's everyone doing?
I'm gazing in a mirror and I say, do I actually look like this? Poke and prod at my porcelain face.
I'm curious.
Yep.
That makes me think of a really interesting question, to me at least. Corklick, looking at yourself now, probably for the first time since the troubles with the what's the painting, Mike? The 1,000 Millennia, or yeah. How have you changed, if at all, in that time?
Ooh. The beehive has continued to go on about its existence for decades, and there's just like wads of wax kind of like dangling out of my cheekbones and kind of embroidered in the chainmail coif that I wear. And just a lot of dust. Like I'm, if you know, I'm a manic and I don't really have much use for mirrors, and I realize I haven't taken care of myself essentially in a human decorum style. So I'm kind of a dusty, waxy mess at this point, with like an occasional bee that shoots out of a nostril and wafts back in.
I love it. You can take a hunt roll. 1 die unless you can make a case for a skill or equipment.
A 3, I encounter a terrible thing.
You do indeed. You can make a personal assessment of the terribleness of this as you wish. But you see in the mirrors something in the reflection that is not in the actual space. It's a workshop. It's almost as if the mirrors are trying to show you this because you can see everything quite clearly despite the fairly limited illumination. How do you know you're looking at Mashiko's workshop from back in time?
Yeah, well, for a time that was my home where I forget what we call it in the trophy terminology, but where I retreated to. But it's clean, it's orderly, it's tidy. There's rows of shiny porcelain heads lined up on the wall, which might go into other mannequins. Might reveal that I have brethren out there, that there was more than just me. I thought I was unique.
You see Mashiko too. How do you know it's her?
The mirror has a clarity that you can actually even see her fingerprints, and I recognize those prints because they're marked into my face almost like scars.
She is beckoning you. She's walking from mirror to mirror, leading you somewhere. Do you follow?
Absolutely.
I think you wander off without anyone else noticing you wander off.
Sounds great.
That's the terrible part. Let's continue on with Mazer, Gleneth, and Osto. Korkuluk newly missing.
Gleneth is fascinated by the play of light and is holding up marbles and carefully picking up shards of mirror from the ground and reflecting, trying to catch where the light might be coming from.
Make a hunt roll. You're muted.
I did 2 because I'm using some equipment.
Yep. Oh, 2 6s. Wow. Take a token. Yes, you can navigate all the way to the source of the light. Do you take anyone with you, or do you go by yourself?
I think with Osto kind of mapping the path behind us, I might want to do something similar going forward. So maybe I'm setting shards of glass, almost like the stripes on a highway, kind of leading in the direction I'm going, but I don't necessarily call out to anyone.
So they can follow you there if they need to. Well, Mazer, what are you doing right now?
Actually might follow because I feel like Mazer is suffering a bout of exhaustion as well as melancholy, and probably feels almost kind of like dragged on this particular delve down. Deep down inside, he knows he wants to be here, but I think he's been just insufferable all the way down, just kind of like complaining about it and just kind of like dragging along. I think like as I follow, like it's sort of like the teenager that's like, I'm following you, but like I'm gonna hang back enough and kind of like wander off a little bit. And I've got this black flame now that is like caged in roots. And so I think that like I'm sort of like putting my finger, like wiping the dust away from some of these mirrors and that type of thing, and just sort of like peering to see, I mean, similar, I think, to Gleneth, to see if how that black flame reflects within the mirrors, and trying to get an better understanding of how that might be connected or disconnected from this place.
Yeah, I like it very much. You can take it with 2 dice. Go for it.
Cool.
Occasionally Gleneth huffs and then tries to change the angle as his black fire is, nope, just.
You got a 6 as well. The dice are mostly very kind today. 3 out of 4. Take your token, Mazer. You see a vision. A vision that seems like it was almost made just for you, Mazer. It's the orphan pit, a place that you were very instrumental in the group ending up in. You see the metastasis there, mewling and wailing and crying, these horrible children stuck together. But it's almost like the mirror is zooming in and showing you you're going into the heart of the metastasis. And you can see in between the bodies, in between the limbs, in between the viscera, in between the strange protoplasm that glues it all together. You see at the heart of it a teddy bear made of crystal, a magical artifact of incredible value and power, you know, just by looking at it. You can feel it coming from the mirror. What do you do?
Oh, I document that in the old memory bank. But I don't think like sorry, the evil laugh. There is definitely a temptation to just pull out that bell and ring-a-ling-ding.
You could.
Oh, I don't think I'm ready for it yet. But it's definitely Mazer is on the precipice.
Very good. Since you both, Gleneth, you'll arrive first since you are not waylaid by
I
visions.
swear to
of
God, I
the
took
orphan
that bell
pit.
away from him.
You actually arrive in what we're calling the prismatic labyrinth, though you can call it whatever you want, but it changes. It changes into, it's still a sort of like labyrinth of corridors, but it's no longer mirrors. It's now mosaics on the wall of stained glass. And there are structures, almost like statues, made of shards of stained glass, all kind of like jammed together. Think of a Dale Chihuly, but like sharper and more humanoid shaped, and you've got the idea. The light is coming from behind these mosaic walls, so it creates this beautiful, dazzling, colorful effect. Let me check in with Osto for a bit. Osto, what are you doing right now?
I think maybe he's gotten so caught up in making sure that their path backwards is marked that he hasn't noticed when everyone else has seemed to peel off in different areas. And so alone, he'll stand up, look around and say, didn't we just do this? And start following what might be purposefully placed shards of glass toward Gleneth, maybe.
Indeed. I think I'd like the scene of you coming up on Mazer and possibly looking over Mazer's shoulder, Mazer's seeing, but maybe Mazer, you can react however you want to that.
I mean, if nothing else, you would see me kind of like maybe just like rasping my fingers over the bell.
Do you make any attempt to cover up what is in the mirror?
I don't think so.
You'll see it then, Osto. You don't have the same context that Mazer has, but you do see the crystal teddy bear.
Yeah, I think he'll look at it
as a werebearer. You can interpret that however you want.
he'll look at it, but I think the more distressing image is Mazer with the bell, and I think just reach forward and just pinch the clapper, and just say, we really don't want to go back there. Do you see the bear too?
I agree with you, but if the situation presents itself, I think that we do want to go back. And he kind of like just taps at the mirror where the bear is.
That's the pit?
That is where this lies.
That is pretty big for a crystal.
Very, very big.
But so was the monster. So
Oh,
maybe-
yes. In our current state, I would not suggest that we travel back. And you can see that his hand is just itching. It's like it's got a mind of its own. But yeah, he then underscores like, but if we find what we need to get rid of that thing, we go.
Let's talk to the others.
We're
about that.
bargaining all of a sudden.
Let's get everyone on board.
Corkaluk.
Everyone will be on board if we ring this spell. There's
They
no
don't have a
choice in
choice.
that.
Yeah. Corkaluk, you are being led through these corridors by the image of Mashiko in the mirrors. And finally, you're led into almost like a sort of like a kind of octagonal room with mirrors on all sides. And she's walking along, and she gets to one of them, and the mirror almost like dissolves away, like as if it were water dropped into a pool of metal on water. It, kind of dissolves away to just be like an inky black space, a doorway. What do you do?
Is she still visible, or does she just sort of vanish into this inky blackness?
You don't see her anymore.
Okay. I will call out at first, Mashiko, and then kind of with my axe poke into the darkness a little bit.
Make a hunt roll.
All right.
You can do 2 dice since you're touching with the axe.
Is that 4? Sorry, my computer's a little.
It is a 4. You got a token, but you encounter something terrible. Note your token, and you hear Mashiko's voice. She says from the darkness, I have new tools, new methods to show you. I can perfect you now. I can give you humanity. I can give you reality. I can give you corporeality. Tools that make flesh and blood. Do you go inside to become a real boy, or?
Well, my drive has always been to have a way to repair myself since she was gone, not so much to become human, but today realizing how waxy and dusty I am, kind of tempted to. I'm gonna tentatively poke a finger into this blackness and see if it tries to grab me.
It does not. It feels like it's just a space.
All right. Well, if I haven't already lit a torch, light up a torch and proceed slowly forward.
The blackness consumes the torchlight completely.
Ooh, that's not good.
You still press forward.
I call out again and say, Old Kaldurh has done me wrong before. I spent a few decades here that I didn't intend to. I need more proof that this is truly you and not another demon-haunted painting.
We'll come back to this. Gleneth, you're in these, this is a tighter set of corridors, and they open up more frequently into round spaces where you have these like kind of statues of stained glass shards. And they also have a more linear progression. It's not quite as confusing as the mirror corridor. What do you do?
As soon as the mirrors cease, Glennis just sat down and started meditating on the light sources in this room, maybe even slowly humming to herself, just see if there's a resonance in the space or if there was anything waiting for her there.
Pick a hunt roll.
Got a 4. 3? 3.
It's a 3, yeah. You encounter something terrible. Your trance breaks at the feeling of something very fine and very razor sharp drawing a line of blood on your cheek. You see one of the stained glass statues standing over you. Let me get their description. Stained glass horror, they're called in the in the incursion. You get to rename them though. It looks
Every panel I ever saw in a Catholic church.
yeah, well, except they're kind of like, it's kind of more like a 3-dimensional jammed together shard thing, you know. Very, very sharp. Looks kind of brittle. It is looming over you. And you can see that it is drawing the light into its body. This is a combat. It is endurance 8. I assume you have a weapon.
Hat pins and perhaps some useful items.
Indeed. And tell me how you're vulnerable.
I am made of flesh and blood, and I could die of 1,000 cuts.
I think that's probably right. Go ahead and roll weak point. 6,
Weak point
not
is
great.
6. Nope.
It's a combat 1. You have to get 8 on a single d6. Good luck with that. Go ahead and see how that goes.
I roll an impossibility.
Yes, you still roll because you might roll 6. So
Oh, I rolled a weak point again. Apologies.
we'll count it. It's fine.
Yeah.
As a 1. The first round of the combat, describe it.
Gleneth wipes the blood across her mouth from the first cut and receives 2 more, just trying to react to this very pointy creature in front of her that is suddenly brighter than it was before, and she's having a hard time orienting.
Yeah, indeed. Let me take a look at this. In the second round, the light is starting to dazzle. It is making you especially vulnerable right now because it almost like holds your gaze as the colors magnify, bounce around. Take another weak point. Six and 1. Go ahead and do the second round of combat. You need 8.
Am I able to use any other weapons or items in order to get a die to make this possible?
Oh, you can now because it's combat 2. You gotta just get, it's gotta add up to 8. So
I have a marble
Mhm.
that is of such a mass that once I cast it, I'm hoping that I might be able to hurl this marble and the weight of it might shatter through this thing. And I'd like to roll 2 dice.
Oh no, you get to roll 2 dice regardless because it's the second round of the combat.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Do I just
but if
two
you
in general?
spend the magic item though, if you spend the marble, I'll give
It's
you
a
a third
1
die.
use?
Yeah, I'll
Thank
give you a
you.
third die. Yeah, go for it. We still take the 2 highest, but 6, 5, and 3, it's destroyed. However, you get hit. You can absorb the hit with armor or just take the hit. Go ahead and describe how you destroy the thing.
Having been cut several times, she instinctively reaches into her pouch of marbles and intending to just distract the thing and throw a fist of marbles, actually hurls this marble that's bound with this infinite sort of mass energy. And you see it split through the glass creature in front of her, like straight through the sternum. And the explosion of glass radiates out, and I use a series of veils to try and cover myself in order to absorb the tiny car crash kind of windshield glass flying at her face as it's destroyed.
Nice. Before we forget, go ahead and roll a gold 8. See if this thing drops any treasure. It does 1.
Got 1 gold.
I'll define what it is. The heart of the thing is while the rest of it is jagged, the heart of it is actually like a kind of smooth kidney-shaped piece of glass. That is worth 1 gold. Mazera and Osto, you will walk up on Gleneth, standing amid a bunch of stained glass shards. Let's just have that scene.
Bleeding and holding a dark red sculpted piece of glass.
I never
Awesome.
took you as one to destroy art, Gleneth.
Well, only when it tries to destroy me first. I'm glad you saw my path. Are there any other glass sculptural pieces in this room that I might point out to my companions?
Not in this particular little chamber, but you've been through several of these little chambers already, so there are more. Yeah.
I think Oster will have torn off a piece of his sleeve and be wiping up Gleneth's face and be like, we really ought to stick together. I mean, this is not our first delve.
No, I thought it was a scientific experiment trying to find the light, and then this creature started to eat the light and then started to cut. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's much better.
Korkaluk. Mashiko's hand and forearm appear out of the darkness, holding a tool. It's the first tool you ever became aware of in your consciousness. What is it?
Oh, it's one of those wire loop tools on a wooden handle that's used to slice through clay or through cheese.
She says, "Come, feel the work of my tools on you again. Come and see the wonderful advancements I've made."
I'm trying to think of a way to use parse to the ritual to I don't know, discern the veracity of this.
I'll tell you, it's a trap.
Right, exactly. But, I Korkaluk kind of want
you
this
can
to happen.
absolutely, you
But
can,
yeah,
you can
me,
determine
Brian,
that however you
trap.
wish. Yeah. I think Korkaluk would be able to certainly have a healthy sense of skepticism of this moment, and I think that's fair. Doesn't necessarily mean you're not curious to find out what's in there, though.
Right, and so my thought is to try to use parse in almost like a riddle of words here with whatever the hell I'm facing, and say like, all right, if you're truly Mashiko, then you know the marks that are carved into my backside. Marks that only she would have seen.
Yeah, I like that. That's pretty good, actually. Let's do a risk roll.
Mhm.
What are you hoping to accomplish if you succeed?
Gain proof that this is a trap. I think, like, sort of prove my belief that this is not truly Mashiko.
I will say that the fail condition is you are drawn into the trap. That's the only possibility here.
All right.
And let's talk about dice. Do you have a relevant skill here, or equipment, I suppose?
Artifacts, perhaps, in the sense of tools or mimicry.
Oh yeah,
Is this thing mimicking her well enough?
Yeah, artifacts and obfuscation both, and mimicry. It all really kind of comes into play, I think. Okay, you got one light die. Sarah,
And yes,
you
in
can.
the chat, I'm asking for them to identify my tramp stamp.
Yeah, exactly. Sarah, you can offer the devil's bargain.
No matter what, this experience of perhaps being trapped by an illusion of your maker or not leaves you unwilling to continue to pursue their legacy.
Damn, that's a rough devil's bargain.
That's really rough. Yeah. So I'm kind of left driveless in a way.
Like many of us.
You're looking for a new drive like everyone else. It looks
I'm
like
left with a life that's meaningless.
Patience Davies might still come for you.
That's true. Still got my porcelain faced beetle girlfriend out there.
It is nevertheless a harsh devil's bargain. You can reject it if you wish.
Yeah. All right. Are we doing just one devil's bargain on the table these days?
That's all I'm offering for this.
Okay.
So,
all right. Sure, I'll take it. So
two light dice and one dark. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. A 4. Dark is tied with the high. So
you're stuck at 4. It's a high. Complication is going to be you determine the truth of it, but
I think my ruin is going up by 1 also.
Yeah, you absolutely determined that this is a trap. I will, however, the complication is going to be I'm going to come up with something that's so good you have to go in of your own free will.
All right.
But for now, please describe how you use the parse ritual to at least satisfy Korkaluk's hunch here.
Yeah. So there's because there's a hand kind of coming out holding the tool, right? So there's almost a tender, like, false touching of hands, like, like the scraping tool, re-scraping towards the fingers as though it's refashioning, promising to add this fleshy existence. But as we're doing this, I'm kind of, turning my hand to force this being to pronate their hand so that I can see the underside of the tool and notice that the tattoos that Mashiko had on our wrist are not present.
Very nice. We'll come back to this. You're not off the hook yet. Okay, Osto, Mazera, and Gleneth. So you're in the prismatic labyrinth. What are you doing?
Did Korkaluk not follow you? I thought you were all behind me.
Yeah. I thought he was with you.
Well,
When-
Mazer's been following me around, but I just assumed he was moping.
Oh no, I caught Mazer almost ringing the bell. Just putting that out there.
I'm standing right here.
Just sold you out completely.
Mazer, what bell is that? You gave me your bell when I was trying to get over the pit the first time around.
There were lots of bells floating around.
To be
Why-
fair, there was a big chunk of crystal involved, but I think we should decide as a group, Mazer, whether we're going to do this.
Well, this big piece of crystal just tried to flay me alive, so I guess I don't want to necessarily run. Why the bell?
Different crystal in the pit with
course
our
it
old
is.
friend.
Did Korkaluk go there in advance? Where? Can I maybe look around a corner and see if I can see Korkaluk or anybody down the hallway? No,
no,
no one.
no,
Mm-mm.
no. You have to go back to the mirror part to even have a chance at finding Korkaluk. Which you can
Maybe-
do. The mirror part offers visions, which I'm sure there are more to see.
I mean, there is an easy way to find our dear friend Korkaluk. Bring him
Mazer, if you
We're
say
not
ring
ringing
the
the bell.
bell,
closer to us. I'm just saying we have a solution to any problems that may continue. But that said, when has Korkaluk followed us? It seems that he wanders off quite a bit these past, 1,000 years?
it was only 30. I don't need to keep adding years.
Anyway, it's good to have that in our back pocket if we need it in an emergency, which it's not yet. So we're not ringing the bell.
Agreed.
Or good. Let's
Well, ahead or behind, gentlemen, I think that there will be more crystalline dangers in the ahead of us, but I don't necessarily, having just found him again, want Korkaluk wandering around by his own self in a place where he has visions, like of bad ideas, like ringing bells, for instance.
yeah, we should find Korkaluk. He doesn't have a bell, does he?
There are a lot floating around, I've heard.
Korkaluk. The entity says, I can see that I have approached this in entirely the wrong manner. You have changed so since I saw you last. I will tell you that I have the ability to forge you into any kind of life. What if I could make your hollow wood and metal shell into a proper carapace? What if I could give you the wings of a bee, the armor plating of a beetle? What if I could make you more insectoid so that you would be more alluring to the one you love? And you'll hear from in the darkness the buzzing of insects, the chittering, the clacking.
It does indeed sound pretty enticing. At what cost is this transformation?
There is no cost. I shall do it out of a joy for laying eyes and hands upon you once again.
You're very generous. But to whom do I speak?
the blackness fades away to reveal in three-dimensional shape and physicality the workshop.
Interesting.
You'll
Nobody
probably somewhere in the distance hear Osto, Gleneth, and Mazer coming back or roaming about, maybe even calling for you, calling for him or them.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. You hear your companions, your colleagues calling for you.
All right, I will call out to my companions. Give me just a minute, and I'll step into the workshop.
Very good. Let's take 5. Korkuluk, walking into the space is a combat. Except it doesn't look like a combat. What it is this entity trying to disassemble you as if they're working on you, and you convincing the entity, no, you actually need that part. And succeeding at the combat means escaping, basically. So how are you vulnerable right now?
Kind of partially believing it. Like, I, in my devil's bargain, just lost my drive, and you know, what else do I have to live for but Patience Davies? I could become the beetle man that she deserves.
Yeah, go ahead and roll weak point.
Right. A 2.
A 2. The fight is 10. And let's just have the first combat 1, see if you get a 2 or not.
Roll a 4.
You got a 4, so it's not defeated, but you're not harmed. But I think it starts with her inviting you to lay down on the workshop table, please.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, now the first thing we need to do is get rid of that head. And she goes and she begins to start to undo your head. Mm-hmm. How do you convince her not?
Ooh, well, a small storm of bees erupts, kind of buzzing around, like our, you know, what's going on with our nest being disturbed here. And there's still some mangrove tendrils running through me as well, so it's not so easy to just pop the head off. You've got to really do a bit of work. And in that time of trying to disassemble and wave bees away, that gives me time to kind of be like, just hang on a moment. Normally when I was assembled, we did the legs last, so shouldn't the legs come off first? That's how I remember it. And I was there.
She says, yes, I suppose that is very astute. Meanwhile, Osto, Gleneth, and Mazer, you heard Korkuluk, down a quarter. Do you follow? Do you try to trace to where Korkuluk is?
I mean,
Osto will
what I heard was just a minute, which is universal for, I guess he needs some private time.
Is that ever a good idea, Gleneth?
No, I felt polite. I don't know. Do mannequins relieve themselves? I've never asked him.
Are you all trying to find him?
Yes, but we're having this ridiculous conversation while it's happening.
Mazer, are you hanging back, or are you rushing to see what's going on?
I don't know if I'm rushing, but I'm headed to see what's going on.
You'll catch glimpses of things in the mirrors as you go. Some of them might catch your attention if you stay and ponder them for a bit.
I mean, I'm definitely curious. Like I said, I'm always just trying to figure out how are these mirrors. I think I'm kind of suspicious that a mirror that doesn't reflect the light might have some valuable secrets, or a mirror that reflects the flame more strongly, that type of thing. I'm looking for that kind of variation. I'm certainly glimpsing as I go, glancing.
Something will catch your eye. You might recall, I don't remember if you were there or not, Mike, but at one point you all found, and I think Corklick still has, a little like doll. It was a sort of a wooden doll with like a hedge clipper for an arm. And maybe you've seen it since, and so you would recognize it. You actually see a scene of several of these little dolls, but they're alive. And they're trimming hedges and pulling up plants and doing some work. But the thing that catches your eye is that, oh, they're not dolls, they're little mannequins. Do you stop and watch the scene?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back in our combat with this entity trying to disassemble Korkaluk, let's have a combat 2, looking for 10 total. A 5 and a 3 is an 8. No hits, but no, you have not defeated it yet. So she's going for the legs. And I'm actually reading Misery right now, weirdly enough. So this is feeling very resonant to me. She goes to the legs and she says, it might be easier just to saw them off, quicker, cleaner than trying to find a way to undo your rusty joints. And so she's pulling a saw out and she's getting ready to saw a leg off. How do you talk her out of that?
Gonna squirm and fidget a bit and say, hang on a moment. That particular saw blade there, that's a little more valuable than you think it is. That's a saw blade made by used by Agino the painter in making the frames for their canvas. And that is priceless. You do not want to get any of my tendrils and inner workings on that. Like chipping a blade, that's going to drop the price immediately.
Osto, on the way, you catch a glimpse of your brother in one of the mirrors. What do you do?
Just kind of almost skid to a stop and stand staring into the mirror.
It's him. It's as you remember him. He shows you something from your childhood to confirm something that he and you would only know. What does he show you?
I think he shows me the cure that he stole for my beast bittenness, and that's what got him into Barsul in the first place.
He's doing that thing where he walks between the panes of mirror glass, leading you down a corridor. Do you follow?
Yes.
Gleneth, you're by yourself now, making your way towards Korkaluk, presumably. Mazero's not behind you anymore. You see Osto going off in the wrong direction. What do you do?
Gleneth has much skill in illusion magics and deliberately walked through this part with a one-track mind, horse blinders on, did not look at any of the reflections. Now, as she sees her companions falling one by one into these quite obvious traps, she is looking at all of the mirrors that look like they have been like broken or punctuated and then split, and that perhaps in any of the shards, those little like refractions, she might see Korkaluk or see any of her companions in that, like the depth of the magic and where they have gone to.
I think you can keep navigating towards Korkaluk if you wish. As long as you stay focused on that, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Mazer, you're not entranced at all. You're actually getting good, valuable information here. You watch these little mannequin things with their strange little tool arms. They are somewhere where there are lots of plants and flowers, and even like in the distance of the scene, you can see like rows of corn and things like that, right? And there is but strangely, it's kind of a dark space. Like there's a light source of some sort, but it doesn't seem natural. And they find a diamond, a really big diamond, like the size of your, like, kind of like a golf ball size, really good size, would be worth a lot of money. And they seem to be having some kind of conversation about what to do with it. I don't think they know. And so they are clearly just falling back on what they know to do. And so they take it and they dig a hole and they bury it and they water it. And then they wander off. And they've buried it near, you can see there's like a tree, a gnarled old blackened tree that has very thick spider webs in the branches. Wherever these people are, wherever these creatures are, if you ever find this place, you can use that tree to navigate to this diamond seed that they planted. Meanwhile, Gleneth, you do arrive where Korkaluk is. You're in a room where you see Korkaluk just kind of suspended in air. And you see this strange mirror-like blob creature just forcing its mirror-like fluid body into Korkaluk. What do you do? Basically, are you joining the? Are you going to try to do something to free him with a risk roll? You can join the combat too.
I think I want to grab Korkaluk by whatever the equivalent is of the spine in the back of his neck. Like I'm literally going to tug him by the scruff and try to pull him free of this creature.
Let's keep it easy and just let you enter the combat. You're not vulnerable though, so I'm not going to make you roll weak point. But you can just add a die to the total combat, which would bring it up to 4 now. Korkaluk, if you want to roll combat 4.
All right, we'll do. Did that roll? Oh, there we go.
There you go. You do get hit,
2 and a
but
3, I get hit. Yeah.
but the 2 6s will do the deed. Describe how the combat ends. How do you get out of this and defeat the thing?
Ooh. So what? Gleneth is pulling me up by the tramp of my stamp or something, by my scruff. Sorry, looking at what I got here in the way of tools and such that might make sense.
In your hallucination, Mashiko is just trying to take you apart still.
Yeah. I think I can tie it together here. So one of the mementos that I've had is a poorly whittled portrait of Mashiko. I think it's time for it to go to good use. That this being nipping and tucking and pulling apart, I was doubtful before, but now I know this is not Mashiko's touch. It's too much more like mercury coursing into my parts, not the touch of a human woman who knew how to sculpt. And as I'm like fidgeting and squirming and such, I'm like, you are not Mashiko. She looks like this. And I, snap the little wooden figurine and kind of flick it into the being who I up to now, I don't think I've seen him as being metal, mercury-like at all. And in that flicking in, there's like a bloop and silvery reflections that reveal it's clearly not Mashiko. What, Gleneth, you're dragging me out. I think I'm just kicking and screaming and bees are erupting out of my mouth. And like, I'm so angry that like wax is starting to break down and at this not betrayal, sort of falsehood, the false pretense of being my creator, that bees are erupting out of my mouth and I'm drug out of the room. to safety.
Is that where your rune comes from?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Lenneth, draped in veils, is trying really hard to avoid the bees as she's hauling her companion to safety.
Mazer, you will notice Osto at one point being drawn away, no doubt into danger. You have the option of following Osto, or you can ponder another image in the mirror glass, this one that looks like a flicker of black flame.
Oh, Jason, you just know how to push characters' buttons, don't you? I mean, this is what I've been looking for. So, yeah, sorry, Osto. But I'm peeking.
You are seeing another part somewhere deeper in Old Kaldurh. A thing of Old Kaldurh's their engineering and magic and science have never been replicated in this world in the modern times, and this is an example of it. You see what appears to be a vast subterranean space. For scale, you can see like humanoid creatures crawling up and down the walls, and using them as scale, the space is probably the roof of it, the ceiling of it probably goes up at least, I don't know, probably 500 feet. And near the top, suspended by what look like chrome covered spinal cord cables, there is a massive, enormous, like the size of a building, enormous chrome skull hanging there. And above the chrome skull, there is an enormous black conflagration floating over the chrome skull. Wherever this place is, whatever it is a place of unimaginable power. And you get that delicious, evil, dark feeling by looking at it. How does your own little black flame react?
I think it kind of like it's caged in by these roots. I think it like starts to like I can smell like the burning of roots or whatever as that like is like pushing its way out of the rooted cage. I think it's still holding it there, but yeah, it is like forcefully, it is not just happy being contained at this point. Like it wants out.
Osto, you are led to a place that seems to be like a prison cell. And your brother says, shh. This place, it has the ability to show you the past, the future. It has the ability to show you the past, but it also has the ability to help you change the past. You can change what happened to me. You can help me now. I've figured out a way out of Barsoul prison. I have learned how to escape, but I can't do it on my own. What do you do?
Oof. I think Osto's going to kind of reach into his the pocket of his vest and feel that box that apparently contains his brother's remains. And I think he's going to start backing away and say, you can't change what's happened.
Yes, yes, we can. Don't you see? I brought you here. Everything has led to this moment. I have used all the resources I've been able to muster in this terrible place. All the alliances, all the people who have come to visit. How do you think you even got your hands in that box in the first place? Because I know her. You are meant to be here. You are meant to help me escape. Get the others. We shall do it together. It'll be easier with all of us.
No. I'm free. And you'd want that for me. And he'll just start backing away.
And your brother smiles, and you're just looking at a piece of mirror glass now. Gleneth and Korkuluk, let's have a gold 10. Whoever wants to roll that. Why don't you go ahead and roll it, Gleneth?
Oh, I was thinking Korkuluk defeated it.
Well, you helped at the end there too.
All right, 10, you said?
A 1.
Okay, so that's just all the gold we're going to get from any creature today.
Seems like it. What might it leave? Oh, there was something like truth in what the wraith-like mirror creature was offering Korkuluk, because crawling around in the shards of glass is a small mirrored beetle.
Fast like a snake, Gleneth's hand just snatches the beetle. Korkuluk, are you all right? Are you?
I'm a little lost for direction, but I guess a mirrored hallway does that to a being.
Disorienting in
Well
any
enough.
circumstance.
Yeah.
Well, you can't keep fighting these things on your own. If you're going to wander off, I then kind of pull out of the back of my own tangle of scarves, pull out a carapace that is kind of a dark iridescent green, and I have beetle armor that I start to like wrap around your much as I am nursing you and making sure that the wax kind of gets back up into the places it should go and create kind of a jawline. I give you beetle armor from our last adventure that is for notes worth 2 gold, but also might protect you as you wander off on your own adventures too often.
I will try to remain less distracted.
Well, let's go find our companions.
Maser, one of these terrible sorcerers appears in the foreground of the image you're seeing, very close to you. It speaks in that terrible black flame voice. I don't remember how the voice goes, but I'll just do something different now, maybe. It's just like, it tells you the way. It tells you to go down into the second layer and find the Titanic sarcophagus. This will lead you to where you need to be. Do you rejoin the group at this point? Do you all come together at this point?
I think so.
Kenneth is desperately trying to pull all the threads back together.
Indeed. Osto, how are you feeling right now?
Shaken, and once he sees everyone's together, I think he'll just say, let's get out of this place.
My shards just here should point us the way. So don't poke any of the statues. They're pointy and a bitch about it.
Do you all continue on back to the prismatic labyrinth? Very good. You kind of go back to basically where we saw Mazer and Osto and Gleneth for a time, in this sort of stained glass sort of labyrinth, occasionally punctuated by these little, they're almost like little statuary gardens with these, stained glass figures. And presumably this goes somewhere. What do you all do?
The light that is emanating from behind the stained glass, I will point out to my companions and say, I got here before any of you, and it seemed to draw power from this light, but I got attacked by a very pointy thing. I feel like we should at least pair off if we're going to explore too far, but otherwise I think this is the way forward.
Yeah, I think we should stick together as much as we can. And he'll look pointedly at Korkaluk.
I'm just pushing some wax back into position and trying to adjust my coif a little bit. Yes, of course. Won't happen again.
Yes, I will.
And we press further into this colorful array.
How might you try to navigate space?
What has
Also,
worked? Oh, go ahead.
Osto's still going to be using the paint, just leaving little arrows on the floor for a way out.
Gleneth had much success in trying to understand the refractory light, but now that all of the light is here, she's kind of following the color patterns of where the cast rainbows might lead and therefore kind of chart a way forward.
Mazer, your black flame has an effect on the stained glass creations. How does it affect them?
I think it like almost like bleaches out the color. So wherever it shines, like you kind of see like, yeah, it's just becomes like a clear glass.
Interesting. I actually think that that might be a pretty good way of navigating the space, because it allows you to see ahead and through the mosaic glass walls. If you're willing to do a hunt roll, I'll give it to you with 2 dice, Mazer.
Sure.
Gleneth is chasing rainbows like an excited little kitty cat, and Mazer just
You got a 4.
4.
Take a token.
Mhm.
It's mostly working. You're able to kind of get deeper into this space. At a certain point, you end up in a kind of roughly triangle-shaped chamber that has no statue in it. But it does have 3 passages, or two passages. Standing in the archway of these passages, or in the threshold of them, are two of these stained glass horrors. They look more sentry-like because they have sort of stained glass halberds, kind of like that they're holding them. They're like protecting these two passages. Corklick, what do you do?
Are they're standing stationary?
Yes, one in each doorway.
Yeah. Well, turn to my companions. Should we proceed forward? Do we feel like this is what we need to find in the scriptorium? No, specularium. Have we missed a passage somewhere?
Generally, guards are guarding something.
All right. This might be a time for my archive ritual here. To give up a memory to learn a piece of lore.
Oh, very good.
Enlightened bees building wax in my brain.
Yeah, it's good.
Because I feel like having lost this attachment to patient stavies, I wouldn't mind just wiping it completely and send these bees out to attempt to find essentially the weakness of these sentries.
Or the attachment to Mashiko, to be clear.
Giving up the attachment, my memory of Mashiko altogether.
Yeah.
But sending the bees out to explore the specularium and basically trying to find out the weakness of these sentries. Like, can we distract them? Are they vulnerable to, I don't know what?
Yeah. I'll give you a 2-die hunt roll. I think that's with the ritual as the sort of justification for the second die.
Okay. Oh, a 3 and a 1. That's nuts. 3.
Indeed. The two stained glass horrors lower their halberds and step into the space, ready to attack the 3 or 4 of you. You hear behind you other stained glass horrors getting ready to follow up on this. If you can defeat these two quickly and proceed forward, you may not have to deal with those ones behind you. But if you dally here too long, or if this goes poorly, you may be dealing with a whole bunch of these things. It's a combat 10, endurance 10. You can try to, I will let someone try to lower their endurance with a ritual if they want to do that. Otherwise, we'll go straight to the combat. Gleneth, what's your idea?
I have an unravel ritual,
Okay.
and I would like to use either the study of the light in this space or my previous experience with these to pull at the structural bits to try and pull out some of the stabilizing shards that might hinge.
I like that. Yeah, it's really good. I'm going to say what could go wrong here is that the unravel gets out of control and begins pulling apart structural elements of the whole space, which would be a major problem. Ben, you can offer, well, let's talk about skills first. Do you have a light die for skills or for equipment?
Sorry, do we need that for combat, or is it just weak point? And then
no, we're doing a risk roll right now, Gleneth.
Oh, risk roll. I'm sorry.
Yeah, to lower the endurance of the monsters. So do you have a skill or a piece of equipment that would help you with unraveling these two guards? Gleneth, you're muted. Oh, you're muted. Sarah, we can't hear you.
I don't feel like any of my skills like traps or mending or illusions really help me here. And
got a green jar of destabilizing unguent.
I do, but I like it and I don't want to use it. Nope, I'm just gonna. Yes, I'm sorry. In addition to casting my unravel, I am going to toss out a green clay jar that I pried from the skeletal remains of a man trapped against a pit, and hopefully both pull apart and dissolve some of these glass shards.
Really hope Mazer doesn't ring that bell now.
Yeah.
Go ahead and erase it. You've got one light die. Ben, you can offer the devil's bargain.
You will see in the patterns of the stained glass here an image of the life you could have were you to mask your Fey origins once more.
Intriguing.
I love it. I will take it. I will roll 2 dice.
And one for the ritual as well. A dark
Thank you.
die.
So that's 2 light, 1 dark.
Yes.
I rolled a 6.
6 dark. All right, very good. Your ruin goes up, but this succeeds. Give me 1 second. I have to go do something real quick.
Mhm.
Rituals can actually reduce it by 2. And so I'm going to give you a 2 reduction. So it reduces their endurance down to 8. Go ahead and describe how you are partially, at least, destabilizing these things.
The unguent almost sticks to her magic as she's casting out this unravel ritual. It is often described as a series of ties unwinding themselves from her own marbles. And as that magic is casting out, it is flinging unguent as if it was stuck on a wheel and starting to just like acid thrown at glass.
Nice. Everyone can do weak point now. Say how you're vulnerable. I don't think you really have to. Gleneth, you're pretty well covered, I think, but let's get a weak point. Anyone who's doing the combat, say how you're vulnerable and roll a weak point.
I've got a 4, and I think I'm just going in axe swinging, glass shards pinging away everywhere.
Flying away everywhere.
Yeah.
I got a 2, and same Osto has arms and face exposed.
I got a 1, and I think it's mainly because like I'm just like a step behind with being so exhausted from the forest root thing.
Mm-hmm. And Gleneth, what was your weak point?
Sorry, I thought that I was not
Oh,
rolling. My weak point is a 3.
Very good. All right, so we've got 4, 2, 1, and 3. It's a combat 4. You've got to defeat them in 2 rounds, or help shows up. So you got 2 rounds to get it done.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
If I remember right, in using a ritual to lower the endurance, does that mean Gleneth is out of combat or in?
No, because it can be done beforehand. I'm giving Gleneth the option of doing it beforehand.
Okay.
Mostly because of the use of the unguent, is like a fast forward on the unravel ritual, essentially, is how I'm kind of interpreting that. If you had like been doing it just purely with your magic and not without the help of the unguent, I would have probably made you stand back and be doing the ritual while they're fighting. But tossing the jar of the destabilizing unguent is a shortcut to getting the same result. Corklet, go ahead and roll a combat 4. That'll do it. 6, 5, 2, and 2. Osto, you're taking 2 hits, but everyone else is good, and the things are defeated in 1 round. You got plenty of time to escape to go deeper to wherever these things were protecting. Let's have the combat. Kick it off, Korkuluk. What does this look like?
Ooh, I just go in swinging the axe, choppy part on the front end kind of bounces off. Then I realize, oh, wait, turn it around. It's got the blunt hammer side and start popping panes of glass out of these little beasties.
Yeah, Osto, keep it going.
The shards are going to be careening toward his face, and he's just gonna kind of Wonder Woman gauntlet block as much as he can, still getting little scratches, much like Gleneth, but the worst of the damage was avoided.
Gleneth, keep the combat going, but also work in this vision.
As her magic is unfurling and therefore flinging this unguent at these glass panes, as they start to melt, as if they were under high temperature, she sees images of herself somehow caught between court and obligation. She is definitely someone in a political position who wasn't ever supposed to be there. So like bastard daughter of all of the sons in the family died and she somehow got to court. She is gossiping in the ears of many of the other courtiers and trying to find power, but she doesn't necessarily know how to.
Good. This feels like maybe it might be connected to whatever your new drive ends up being. I would think on that for a bit. Mazera, you can finish these things off.
I think as everyone else is punching holes in them and breaking up the glass and that type of thing, that I've got this iron spike from our last adventure and almost like a crowbar, like I'm like sliding in after these initial bursts have been done and just kind of like prying the structure apart. So sort of like ripping the frames apart until they're just like pieces on the ground.
Nice, I love it. Mike, why don't you go ahead and roll a gold 8 too?
Okay. Yikes.
Our favorite, at least in terms of probability, that's like normal, I think, for this for 8 dice. You got 1 though. You're able to recover 1 of those strange, like kind of crystal kidney things. Whoever wants to take that, it's worth 1 gold.
Take it away, somebody. I don't need it.
Mazur rolled it. Mazur can have it.
Okay. Crystal kidney.
There's a passage on one side, there's a passage on another side, and you can hear more of the stained glass horrors coming in this direction. You got to make a decision here. Which way are you going? You can split up. You can
Left. Always go left.
Go left. However you want to do it.
Follow Korkuluk.
Korkuluk's going left. Osto's going left. Gleneth?
Gleneth is grappling the collar of Osto, so as he takes off running, she's attached to him and trying to clean up some of the blood from his scruff.
Mazer, everyone's going left. You're grabbing one of these intact little kind of crystal things. Do you go left or right?
I will go left.
Okay, everyone's going left. Left, the passage goes up. It is a kind of a smooth ramp going upwards. And we'll see where it goes when we get back from a break. Let's take 5. This path up opens out into a very kind of onto like a ledge, essentially like a viewing platform that's looking down It's looking down into an enormous pool. But the pool is mirror glass. You might even think it's a gigantic piece of round glass, if not for the fact that there's a distinct ripple that occasionally moves across it. And looking down into it from this viewing platform, you can see yourselves looking down into the image. You'll also see that there is a passageway down below that goes to the actual pool itself. Presumably, positionally, that's probably where the other doorway went down to. One went down, one went up, right? So you went up and you're looking down into this pool. I will tell you, Mazer, that whatever power of prophecy or insight the mirrors in the corridors have, this pool is 10 times more powerful. Its ability to scry, to answer questions, to show the way is greatly magnified and concentrated. Mazer, what do you do?
I we're playing Trophy Dark, right? Can I
I think you always are, but yeah.
Is this, am I interpreting this right? Could I like reach my hand in and like
No,
scoop
you're
some-
very high up.
Okay.
You're probably like, I'd say
It's
you're
a
probably,
cliff dive.
yeah,
Got
it'd be a cliff dive.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
like
I
you're
missed that part.
yeah. But it's
Sorry.
so big you can see really clearly. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I think like I will just like talk to the others here and just kind of say, you know, as you were all wandering off into your own personal directions, I was gazing into these smaller mirrors and saw a great wealths, great treasures. Osto, you witnessed one of them.
If
This
it's
is
not lying.
Fair, but would something so grand and so beautiful really lie to us?
I think it might.
During this exchange, Gleneth is just hanging like a third of her body over the edge and is going to drop a marble from this height to see how it interacts with the pool.
How intriguing. What, any particular marble? Just a plain marble?
Plain marble, but much like a person casting a coin into a wishing well.
Yeah, I like
She's
that.
also looking for some sort of guidance.
Make a 2-die hunt roll. A 1 and a 2. You encounter something
Yep.
terrible.
Yes, I do.
The marble falls. Bloop. And the surface of the mirror pool changes with the ripples. And you see 2 people. One is a masked fae wearing a strange wooden mask. The other is a person you don't recognize, though Osto, you can recognize it as your brother. And all of you see this. This Fae and Osto's brother are clearly somewhere poorly lit, and they are hiding. They are pressed up against, like in a little alcove or a little side passage, and they're trying to be very, very quiet. And the scene shifts around to show the jailers of Barsul prison walking the corridors. They wear crimson cowled robes that obscure their faces, and they're kind of hunched over, and they have a strange, like, kind of tall angularity to them as well. They're taller and longer than people should be. And they hold bells in their hands. And they shuffle across. They've split up. They're trying to find this Fae and Osto's brother. They occasionally ring the bell. Ding. And whenever they ring the bell, the Fae starts to react really violently. And Osto's brother has to try to keep him quiet, keep him calm, so that they won't be found. What do you all do?
Gleneth reacts as Quasimodo might, and the ringing of the bells actually just it pierces right through here psychically into her temple, and she's having a hard time finding calm.
I think there's a chance you might fall into the pool. You can just let that happen if you want, or we can do a risk roll.
I mean, I would use my climbing gauntlets to
There's nowhere to grab
scrabble.
hold.
No,
because you would fall
I'm at the
over.
edge.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Let's do a risk roll.
Can Osto help
Yeah.
by trying to grab?
Yeah, absolutely. Stakes are pretty straightforward here. Do you fall in or not? Do you have a relevant skill that will help you overcome the sound of the bell?
It depends on whether this sound is illusory or not. I suppose if this is something that
it's
is
magical.
happening, yeah,
it's magical, and it is happening. Like, you're hearing it as it's
Mhm.
happening.
Would any of my prophecy skill help me kind of parse what I'm seeing as something? No? Okay.
That's not
then
feeling good.
Straight up.
Yeah. Unless you have a piece of equipment. Yeah. I don't.
I mean, I would have used my gauntlets to like scrabble at the edge once I realized I was
I like
going
that.
over.
That's good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'll give you the light die for that. Mike, you can make a devil's bargain. in the chat, Mike goes, drown it with the sound of our own bells.
I feel like that's the devil's bargain that I'm gonna offer. Is
I
that
love it.
as you tumble, you've insisted that you have a bell. That as you tumble, that bell rings.
What a horrible devil's bargain. Do you take that?
I'm so mad. I've already used my unguent. Oh, nope. Nope. I'm just going to roll one light and
I
see
think
how.
this is inherently dangerous, so it'll be a dark as well. So one light, one dark. And you can take a help from Osto if you need it.
Okay. Let's just see where this literally lands.
It is a 5 dark. You succeed. I don't know if your ruin goes up. Your ruin does go
my
up.
ruin's at 4, and so now we'll be at 5.
Indeed, it will. There's a complication. The complication is that something falls down of yours.
If I roll a help and it's a 6,
Then
does
nothing
Glenna
falls
still
down.
take a ruin?
Yes, because no, because light would be high. So no. Yeah.
I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, see how it goes.
Nope.
It's a 2, so it's no good there. And you can't add any dice, so something's going to fall down there. Let me take a look at your equipment.
God, my equipment has just taken hit after hit this game.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you've had to make some sacrifices here. Let's take a look at what you got. Da, 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 da. Oh,
Can we ironically drop the bell I
no,
have?
absolutely
Damn
not.
it.
The sapphire beetle.
I liked that I had a pair of beetles there for a moment, but I accept.
You managed to clamber onto the edge, and Osto can lift you back up.
I'm clutching onto
Yeah.
his forearm, just lifts me the whole way up.
The sapphire beetle falls. And Korkuluk and Mazer, you will both notice that the Fae in the image of the pool looks up and catches it and has it. And Osto's brother looks at it, doesn't know what to make of it. He's just trying to keep quiet while the jailers, they're gradually coordinating into their position. This is not looking good for them. But the sapphire beetle definitely went down into where they're at when it hit the pool. Korkuluk and Mazer and everyone at this point, what's everyone doing right now?
So I turned to Osto and I pulled out my whip and I pulled out some rope and I basically like look at him and say like, quick, let's rappel down there.
Oh, that what if we drop the rope instead?
They're going to need a hand to get out of where they are. You know this. You can feel this. We need to go. We need to help them.
Korkuluk, what are you doing? I want to check in with you.
Do I recognize Osto's brother? Like, is there enough familial resemblance?
Probably, yeah. In any case, you would have seen that sapphire beetle enter their world or their space.
Oh, just
wherever they're
stakes
at.
are different if it's, you know, some random fae and some random dude in a prison versus.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'd say, you know, Osto, this might be the moment. Like, let's throw some rope down there and get him out, or, you know, clear path.
I don't think that's my brother, but whoever it is might be okay, yeah. And I think he'll drop his grappling hook on the edge and start.
Gleneth has yet to let go of your arm, so everything you're doing.
It's about 50 feet up. Do you have 50 feet of rope?
I have 60.
I have.
Okay.
I got 60
I have
and a
120.
whip.
I'd go for the long one. Because we don't know how far it is from the pool to where they're
That's
at.
fair.
Right?
That's fair.
You drop the rope. The rope goes down and they clearly see it. It's dropped down to where they're at. You can tell they don't know like where it goes or where it came from. And they're having kind of like a hurried, like quiet argument about what to do. The jailer rings the bell and the Fae starts losing shit again. And the situation is getting so like intense. Osto's brother takes hold of the rope, but is leaving the Fae and climbing the rope. Gleneth, what do you do when you realize that he's leaving the Fae there?
I take one gauntleted hand off of Osto and reach for the rope and slide the entirety of the way down through and into the pool.
Gleneth, you land kind of on top of Osto's brother, and you all kind of land in a little heap. You're in Barcel prison. You hear the faint echoing of the bell that was just rung. And Osto, what is your brother's name so we can stop calling him Osto's brother?
Pretty sure it was Nevin.
Nevin, that's right. Nevin says, "Who are you? Are you a prisoner as well?"
Come with me if you want to live.
I love it. It's great. Good. This is a risk roll. Everyone gets to speak here. What could go wrong if Gleneth fails?
Stuck on the other side.
That's what I was thinking too. The image changes or something, right? Any other thoughts?
The guards get there before you can start climbing back up.
That Faye was faking it and could get it on their own, and this was all just a chance for them to just pickpocket the hell out of Gleneth. Like half your stuff is gone.
Very intriguing. Lots of bad things could happen here, I feel like. I think your gauntlets will give you an extra die here because you can kind of, as you're holding onto the rope easily, you can help them get up, right? But Devil's Bargains, everyone gets to make an offer.
I think you recognize this Fae as a traitor to your clan or family.
That's pretty good. I'm going to say no matter what, you can only take one of them with you. Did I steal yours, Mike?
I'm wondering if my what went wrong is more of a better Devil's Bargain. That you lose some more stuff from your equipment.
You can certainly make it an offer, yeah.
I guess that seems a better Devil's Bargain than what can go wrong. So the Fae pickpockets you.
I think there's also the classic, like, you're going to have to leave something behind here that makes it clear that it was you that was in the prison when these guards find it.
Do you wish to take any of these?
Sorry, I'm weighing out the future fiction if I choose not Nevin. This Fae is not a friendly Fae. There is beef. I'm going to go with Ostos and take that bargain.
Very
And
good.
that's,
You've got two
one,
light.
two light, and one dark.
Just two light for now.
Fair enough.
That is a 3. You fail. Would you like to add a dark?
Yes, I would.
Reroll all of them. That is a 5 dark. And that meets your ruin. So your ruin doesn't go up, but this is really dangerous to do with 5 ruin. I can't believe you did this on 5 ruin.
Yep. No, Gleneth's having a real bad day.
Yeah. But you succeed. There is a complication. I think the complication is related to this bad blood phase situation.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the fact that this is mirror scrying pool trickery to some degree. Describe how the three of you are escaping. What does it look like?
I, in scrambling down the rope, shout at them to follow me, and kind of grasping at the both of them. Nevin grabs the rope mightily and starts climbing again, me having slid down, kind of like slammed his butt back onto the jail floor. But as I'm reaching for this fae, I grab their mask and unintentionally pull and unmask them, and I see my sister.
Oh, very interesting. I think an
And,
unintentionally unmasked fae, their face does not appear like a person. You recognize it as your sister, but what does the face actually appear like?
much like the bark of a tree, every like a piece of skin looks accentuatedly protruding from the face if she was sculpted from the bark of a tree.
What do you do when you realize who this is? Or at least who it's pretending to be, if not actually. I'm not saying one way or the other.
Why isn't you? And I grab by the front of the shirt and pull them up after me.
Nevin comes up as well. Eventually, you see all three of them making their way up the rope. Nevin is looking at you, Osto, as he climbs, and he has a wide smile on his face. It's not a smile of warmth or joy at your reunion. It is a smile of knowing mockery as it climbs the rope. Korkaluk, you will see the treachery first. The fae that Gleneth rescued. The fae that Gleneth rescued has a blade. She's trying to cut the rope between Gleneth and her and Nevin. Nevin gets up, but they fall back down. What do you do, Korkaluk? Gleneth is unaware of it.
I think I'm going to try to use my rewind ritual to pull Gleneth back in time to when she was beginning the descent, so that she is now at the top of the rope while everybody else is below.
So never making it into the prison.
Well, so that's the question. The ritual is push a creature back in time, not three.
Oh, I see. So like
the
Gleneth
other
would end up
two are
there,
up
but
the
the other
rope.
two are still climbing. Yeah, okay, that's
Yeah,
good. I like that.
But she's just in a different position than she used to be.
I like it. Ben, what could go wrong here?
Gleneth is going to lose some memory as well as time. You'll push her body one way and her mind too far.
Can I just say, she doesn't know it's her sister anymore. I think that would be great.
I guess that's more of a devil's bargain than a.
That could be. Well, yeah, it could be. Yeah, it's probably more of a devil's bargain. Do you want to make that as a devil's bargain as an offer?
Yeah.
Well, that kind of impacts Sarah's character more, and I'm the one doing the ritual. Does that matter?
I think it's okay as long as Sarah doesn't mind. I think it's fun. Yeah.
Oh, 100% on board.
Yeah. I'll say that the failed condition then is just that it doesn't work and she cuts the rope. So do you take that devil's bargain of Gleneth forgetting that it's her sister?
So what? Without it, I've got. Do I have?
Well, I don't know.
I have a dark die for the ritual. Do I have a light for trading?
No. I don't think any of your
Gleneth
skills
losing
apply.
the memory of her sister might just be a complication to a failed roll.
There could be that as well. Yeah. I like it as a devil's bargain. As
Mhm.
far as the first light die, unless you've got a piece of equipment, I don't think you're going to get that first light die.
In casting a ritual, huh? I've got a monstrous wooden mask I've never used since I created this character. And if
Okay.
her sister's a wooden-faced fae, I think this is the moment for that monstrous wooden mask to come into use.
Okay.
I drop it down so it goes zing, kind of like down the rope, like flying right at that the fae with the knife face. Sort of a distraction technique, if you will.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. I'm into it. You've got 2 light and a dark for the rewind. So go for it.
Five dark.
You succeed. I think you just lose that mask, but otherwise,
But my wind's going up also.
yeah, you are able to get Gleneth back up to safety.
I'll be yelling out, Gleneth, treachery, treachery below you. That fae is not what she seems. They never are.
Hey.
You can see down in the image, Mazer, one of the jailers picks up that wooden mask and is moving it around, looking at it. Like, what is this? That fell down. All 3 of you get back up onto the ledge. Nevin, the masked fae, and Gleneth.
Are we letting that fae all the way up here?
Yeah, the masked fae puts away the knife and just tries to play it off like you misunderstood what I was doing, what was happening here. There was so much going on. You're all up on this little viewing ledge. Nevin still has a wide smile on his face. And he says, I'm so happy to see you, brother. Won't you come and give me a hug?
Osto's going to look at the others and say, we'll talk when we get upstairs. And he'll start pulling up the rope.
I have a question since I didn't play last time. Didn't you get a box that was rumored to be Nevin's remains?
Oh, yes.
It was these scarab beetles that have Nevin's memories before he died. Yeah.
I feel like I've spent enough time with Osto that I've heard enough of his stories over the campfire here. I'll give out a little probing question here, deliberately misnaming the orphanage they were raised in, and I will say, Osto, is this your brother from Sister Agnes's school for the wayward boys, the ones with fleet feet? Is how they called themselves, right? Is that you, Nevin? If that's not clear, I'm trying to misname the school. That's not the right name. To see if Nevin goes, yes, it is me.
Nevin looks at Osto for a moment and then says, that's not how I remember it.
And at this, I think Osto's clearly a little surprised and just says, we have to decide what we're doing down here before anything. You and I can sort this out later.
The fae says, thank you for rescuing us, sister. But they say it like in a way that like fae might just call each other brother and sister. Not indicating anything in particular.
You looked quite stuck down there. I don't quite know what came over me?
I suppose you felt compelled to come to one of your kin's aid. I can't say I would have done the same, and so I thank you for your bravery.
Glennis, with her memory gap, is having a hard time parsing why she would have done what she obviously just did, and stays quiet.
Mazer, the pool has gone back to being just a mirror pool. What are you doing while they're all playing catch up and little mind games with each other?
I mean, I think that Mazer is like hopefully optimistic about these things. This kind of like goes back to his history, right? Of like thinking that he was summoning angels and summoning demons that destroyed everything instead. But I think that through that experience and others, like it's also like that hopefulness comes from like confidence and being able to like make that discernment when face to face with it. So to pull things in from a distance and then to be able to like discern the and deal with the foolery or the fakery, to use the face slur. So I think that I'm going to be like coiling up the rope. Maybe if Osto's working on that, I'm kind of like helping him like de-rig this, but I am like very like carefully trying to examine if there might be trickery at foot here.
Make that roll.
Is that 2 since I'm leaning into the trickery aspect?
Oh, yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
Oh,
You encounter something terrible. You and Osto are near the edge of the viewing platform, pulling up the rope and dealing with that. And you can look down and see yourselves reflected in the mirror pool. Nevin comes over and stands over the two of you and says, "Do you need a hand with that?" Nevin does not show up in the mirrored pool.
so that's something. No, I think that we're just fine here. So, but tell me, Nevin, how long has it been since you have been without a reflection?
He gets kind of a funny look, like he doesn't know what you mean by that. And he says,
Point down.
he takes a moment looking at Osto, his brow knit, and he says, "Barsoul Prison does strange things to you. They have all manner of strange and arcane tortures. Perhaps they've made it so that I no longer cast reflection. Yes, I remember now, in fact. I remember. They can take away your reflection. They can take away your shadow. They do everything they can to unmoor you from reality and the world."
I think while Mazer is having this conversation, Osto is going to be looking carefully, but could I use some bottles from my backpack and lower them down into the pool and lift some fluid back out?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. Yeah. You could just take the stairs down and get some that way too. Take the other
For that.
passage. Presumably
I'll
the
grab the stairs.
yeah. So you have to go back down the ramp into that central triangular chamber. I will tell you that the statues went back to wherever they came from. The ones that were following you, they saw that there was nothing there and they went back. And so that central chamber is fine. And you can then take the other passage to go down to the edge of the pool, if you wish. Nevin says, I'll go with you.
Sure. Mazur, would you accompany?
Certainly. I wouldn't pass up
Osto,
an opportunity like this.
Osto, you said we shouldn't probably separate.
Yeah, I'm just going downstairs quick. Won't be long.
The Fae says, we probably shouldn't dally here too long. We should probably go back up to your camp.
What camp?
And they kind of consider you for a bit. And they say, it is merely logical that you would have established a camp before coming into whatever this place is. That's all I mean.
There's no insight check in trophies, so can I make a hunt roll for intentions? Do they have a shadow? Do they have any sort of telltale
You don't see
mannerisms
the
or-
image. You don't see the reflection.
Mhm.
The Fae does not make the reflection in the pool either.
Then I think that I would just make polite conversation. Why were you in Barcel prison? What on earth did you do?
Corklick, what are you doing right now?
Very suspicious of this Fae knowing about our camp. Kind of musing out loud because it's just me and Glynneth at the top of the stairs, right? And the Fae being.
Yes, yeah. The others went down.
I'm gonna kind of muse out loud, talking and kind of meander myself so that this Fae being is in between Glynneth and I. So I'm behind them.
You can do that.
And what I'm hoping to do as I'm doing this musing out loud and getting into position is to get to where I can grab this Fae and throw them over the balcony back into the pool.
Very good.
So it's a bit of a camp. Well, you know, as one travels, one makes camp, of course, but to arrive here, that's a different matter altogether. And you know, hopefully I've gotten to a position where I can grab them by the scruff, since that seems to be our theme. And
As you're circling around, she's explaining to Glynneth, I did not commit the crime that put me there. Most people in Barsul are guilty of the most terrible crimes. But I am a political prisoner. I was put there because my lord viewed me as a threat. But I am no threat. I am free, and I am so excited to rejoin the world. As Corklick moves into place, Nevin and Mazer and Osto are going down the stairs. And Nevin says, we have so much to catch up on, brother. You've worked so hard and so long to free me from that terrible place. And now you've done it. My heart swells with pride. Pride and familial love.
And I think Asta will kind of smile lightly. And then when they reach the bottom of the stairs in front of the pool, he's going to try and push Nevin in.
You reach the edge of the pool. Before you walk to the edge of it, Nevin turns and whispers to you, Mazer, because I imagine he's in the middle, kind of like the Fae is in the middle of the other two. And he says, just go ahead and ring the bell. We'll end the session there with a literal cliffhanger in some sense. Let's go to stars and wishes. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
Well, I enjoyed this. I laughed a lot. It was fun. I love those bells. I love how some people hate those bells and one person loves it. I think, yeah, there's just a lot of like cool, like, I mean, it was adventure and it was dungeon delving, but we got a lot of like little character vignettes, and I like the sort of like tension and the stakes of these, them both being like the personal interactions with these characters from our pasts, as well as being potentially threatening in this current future. So it's really cool how this unfolded. So props to Jason for pressing those buttons, and to everyone else for leaning into them. That was really enjoyable. And my wish is, man, I just ring that bell. No. My wish is that we get to, yeah, continue playing as a group and see if I ring that bell or not. Or somebody else. It doesn't have to be me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the way that this session seemed designed to really delve into the backgrounds here and giving us grist for the choosing of a new drive is fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that all works out. I really liked the scene with Korkaluk in the mirror and seeing a bit of Mashiko question mark. And I hope we get to see a bit of Mazer's. Let's hear about some of those crimes a bit more, and see how that goes. This is great. Osto clearly doesn't trust his brother, but I think there's lots of good little drama daggers to use here, and so it's fun to see.
I had a really good time. It was really fun, and I feel like this session was really great because it did a couple of things. Like Ben noted, it sort of like kind of gave the players, it gave you all, those of you who need to do drives, like something to cut, some stuff to chew on, right, to make some decisions about where your character's going from here. But it also, with Mazer's observations, it also like kind of laid some things out for the future too, like things to pursue in deeper into the dungeon, right? And so, because Mazer knows about 3 really interesting things. That's also set goal met, by the way. And so, yeah, I really, really loved that. I thought the tension of some of the scenes was really, really great. The tension with Mashiko and Korkaluk was terrific. And I also just had fun with that whole sequence. But especially because it was kind of like, okay, we're going to go rescue Korkaluk, but you're going to get peeled away as well, right? To go do other things, which was really great. There was lots of like, will you peel away from the group to pursue something else while they're in danger? There's a lot of that today, so I really enjoyed that a lot. Yeah, and I like the whole Barcelona prison sequence. It was really great fun as well to role play and do. And yeah, curious how this is how the cliffhangers will resolve. So
I'll go again. Lots and lots of fun. Obviously, good tension. Surprisingly good character development, and I think that that was part of Jason's intention with kind of setting us up with this particular incursion.
I chose this set for a really particular reason. Yeah.
I leaned in even further by giving Korkuluk a reason to give up his drive of 30 years ago as well, to kind of get us all in a similar state. I feel like Gleneth, having no specific drive, has made her very risk averse. No, risk. What's the opposite of averse? I will seek risk now. I am constantly trying to just jump into the middle of things. And I was prepared for Gleneth to take a completely different route, should that have not gone according to plan. I thought jumping into a mirror pool and just smattering over the top of the surface of it was an equally interesting way to interact with the set. I think I loved the way that Korkuluk really leaned into a lot of the Maker's lore. Osto, I felt like you and Gleneth were always kind of also doing the same thing. As much as Gleneth was trying to like save Korkuluk, it wasn't necessarily for the sake of the mission, for us going through and finding this pool. It was just well, he's wandered off again, and this is now a tangent that she gets to focus on. I'm looking forward to how we continue to delve through this dungeon and continue to explore that like 30 years in the future present tense for us as characters. So yeah, really lots of fun.
Righty. What else? I'm digging the kind of thematic use of scruff, of grabbing people by the scruffs that we had this session, and that the bells keep showing up. The obsession with the bells, the like not now, not yet, are really great. So glad that keeps coming back. What else did I write down there? Most of it's already been said, I think. But Ibu sliding down a rope was on a like insta rescue mission was kind of fun. It's ironic that we're probably going to be pushing them right back into the water, or into the mirror pool, after that labor to get them out. What else? Wishes. Two of us are already at 5 ruin, and we've got diddly do for gold so far, so we're in rough shape. My wish is that something happens. I don't know what. We'll find out.
We'll see. I also want to throw out a kind of a personal star, because the loom entry that I for the jailers in Barcelona prison, I wrote that one, and so they have the red cowls, the bells, but I also wrote Orphan's Villa, and I intended for there to be a connection, like a sort of connection between them, like in some weird sense these jailers are kind of like something left over from Old Kaldurh, right? In a weird way. And so it was fun. I was just really happy that I got to like kind of make that connection. That was really enjoyable. So yeah, a forced serendipity, as it were. Yeah.
If I can add a small wish, I hope that even though like the Mashiko memories are gone, I hope Mashiko comes back, especially now that Korkuluk has abandoned that drive.
I almost kind of envision like some kind of like the descendants of Mashiko almost being like a I could almost see it being like kind of like a boss situation, you know, like in the future you turn up in various places and you have to deal with some descendant of Mashiko. It's a more hostile kind of thing, right? That could be kind of fun.
Right. There's value in selling her work now, and they want me for a museum.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Come to get me.
In my head canon, I think that there's some really interesting like Star Trek vibes. Like Data was created, but then all of that creation was lost. So Korkuluk might be the pinnacle of what Mashiko actually created. And now the descendants are coming after you in order to steal your technology.
I'll throw it as a wish as well. I have laid out a trail for Mazer to get to that strange chrome skull thing. And we're curious to see if you take it. So, or go for it. Try to find it. So yeah. Any other stars or wishes? Okay, well, in that case, let's go ahead and I'm gonna wave goodbye to people watching the video.